Well, good morning, guys and gals, and anybody else that might find this. So, I'm going to practice kind of getting to the point on one of these little walk and talks, pontifications in paradise. And this really is a paradise. This morning, we're here in Tennessee, walking some trails on a little peninsula, kind of at the mouth of the Little Tennessee River. I'll show you on the map where we are. And it's fall, and it's beautiful, and temperatures are nice, and I got word from back home from some friends that it's first dusting of snow, so glad to be avoiding that. So I was thinking this morning, how could I utilize this little walk and possibly talk about something worth listening to? And I was thinking, well, I think about this a lot. So if you're homeless, I guess would be one way I would say it. And what I mean by that is, I guess if you're truly homeless, then this really applies. But also if you're just kind of paying a lot of rent and you're just barely getting by, paycheck to paycheck. And I have a few friends like that their rents are exorbitant and they kind of are stuck because their paychecks, they might make pretty good money. By my standards, they make really good money. But by the time the end of the month comes and they get paid, they've spent most of it on just the bare necessities. That just seems to be where life is trying to take us. Our society's trying to take us. So if you're homeless in that regard, then I can tell you, living on a shanty boat or living on a boat, but I would make the argument that some kind of shanty boat is the perfect solution. It's better, way better than like the RV life or the van life or even the tiny house life. I mean, I suppose if you have some land and you're more of a grounded person that likes to kind of be in one place, then the tiny house life might make as much sense. But as far as the freedom and kind of not being hassled by the ever increasing regulations and kind of just trip falls that society's creating, I read a really good quote the other day in a comment section on a video. It was perfect. It said, "Today, government passes laws to create criminals." And I've thought that way for a long time, but I've never read it quite that succinctly, if that's the word, succinctly, the word I'm trying to say. Government passes laws to create criminals. So, you think about it, the government's job is to, create revenue, I'd say at this point, and also to tamp down our freedoms. And, I won't get into that too much. It's not the point of this video, but it has an incentive, let's just put it that way, to put you in a status where now your freedoms are questioned. Like, they could make the case, right? When I say they, just work with me here. Don't try to pin me in a corner with who's they. Just go with me here for a minute. They have a vested interest to kind of make it look like you did something that they had to crack down on and take away some or all of your freedoms. Okay, and then there's financial incentives involved with that. So to get back, to the ground level kind of point I'm trying to make here is that living on the water, like Wayne's Diaries and I, we've figured this out a long time ago. We periodically, just bring it up, remind each other. When you're on the water, you leave behind most problems. 9 out of 10 problems just get left at the water's edge. You step off land, you get in the water, and just by definition, just by design, baked into the cake, however you want to say it, you leave a lot of society's problems behind. I think part of it is that old saying, more people, more problems, which is just true. It's unfortunate, but there's just less people on the water for obvious reasons. And so, less people, less problems. But then it's just less regulated. I'm not saying that it's not regulated at all, because it is. You're going to run into all sorts of costume wearing authority figures out there on the water, depending on where you are. If you're in Florida, you'll see a lot more of them than you might see here in Tennessee, for example, but they're around. We saw some yesterday in a boat. They didn't bother us at all, but a lot of this, what I'm trying to say is, like, if you want to be free and you can handle being free, and you want to do it on the cheap, the shanty boat life, I'm telling you, it's not like I'm getting paid to say this. I mean, think about it, guys. Like, I've been doing it now for years in some form or another, and I've never found a freer lifestyle. I've hardly been spending any money. When you're on the water too, it's not like you kind of, by definition, I think like sailors, know this. They've known this for a long time. When you're on the water, it's whatever you got. Now, sometimes you go to shore. A couple days ago, for example, we were in a place where I could launch the scooter and go to town and replenish supplies, and so I took advantage of that and went and filled up the fuel tanks. I can carry about 40 there's people out here too, walking their dogs mostly. 42 gallons. I just topped off the tanks. I've been burning, man, half a gallon an hour going downstream at 4 miles an hour, just sipping fuel. And I went to Walmart and got, some food. I think I spent $81 or something like that, and that food's going to last at least a week. I mean, I might have to go replenish the steak supplies or something, but let me take a break here for a second. Okay, guys, we're back. There's some people walking by, and I always just feel silly talking at a camera. Like, who's this goofball talking at a camera? So I think I was saying that the shanty boat life, shanty boat living on a shanty boat, living on a boat, but shanty boats make even more sense because of where they can go. They're here. In fact, I'm just walking by where we're parked at the moment. Let me just turn the phone around and to try to make my point. So this would be an exceptionally good example. You don't always get, the sweet spots like this, but, we're back in this little, I don't even know what you call it. I mean, I call this a shanty boat cove right here. A little Tennessee River chapter. And we tucked in there last night. We're in about 5 feet of water. And if the wind was coming in that direction, I mean, this is a really protected area that is almost a 360 degree wind shadow. But let's, we could go on the other side of this little peninsula here. We'll probably walk Wavey back there and I'll just show you. You can just kind of go around the front of the peninsula right over there and go around to the back side to get out of the wind if it was coming in this direction. And the shallow draft, of course, makes it where you can get into these little spots where hardly anybody can follow you. So even other boaters won't necessarily drop anchor around you. You certainly can. You can go to them. And by definition, you just find these little nooks and crannies in life where they're unregulated because they don't need to be. They're just kind of here for you, always open. Here, I'll turn the phone back around. Maybe one way to put it would be, I know for myself, my personality type is like, I just always trying to stay out of the way. It's part of my upbringing. That's a whole other topic sometime. Maybe we'll talk about more personal, but I was raised kind of like, just stay out of the way. Just like, if we don't even want to know you're here, just shut up, stay out of the way. And so that created a big part of my personality where I took that into adulthood, where I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to stay out of everybody's way. And I think it's one of the reasons, certainly not the only one, but it's one of the reasons why this kind of lifestyle kind of fits my personality. Is like, okay, if that's what the world wants, is just stay out of everyone's way, I'll just go find the places where there's low demand. It's kind of like Yoda. I've said this before. It's like, how Yoda went to the swamp planet or whatever, like in Star Wars, and it's like no one would look for him living in a swamp, a swamp planet. Well, it's like, hey, good idea, Yoda. Just went and got out of everybody's way, and no one would think to look there, and certainly no one's trying to move in next to you or buy the land out from underneath you or give you some reason that you can't be there. And I also think of like Shrek, the movie Shrek. It's actually a really good movie in hindsight, in my opinion, or cartoon, whatever you want to call it, series. And he moved into the swamp because no one liked Shrek. Everyone wanted to pitchfork him and kill him because he was an ogre. So his solution was like, I'll just go live in a swamp. And I remember I think it's the first movie where he's like, can't you guys read the sign? It's like, this is a swamp. Like, it's like, this is my swamp. Like, stay away. But, the world seems to be going more and more that way, where it's just going to hunt you down. It just cannot stand that you're a free human being, a free man. And so one tactic is just go find those metaphorical swamps, or just go find those metaphorical swamp planets or whatever, or shantyboat coves, or 3 feet of water where there's low demand, and drop your anchor and move on to the next one, or live on the waterways. There's no such thing as a perfect solution, but I know I've said this before, people periodically contact me and just have questions and just inquiries and such, and I'm very honored that they would see me as any sort of knowledge, fountain of wisdom about these topics, because there's not many topics I would say so, but I've done this long enough that I have figured it out pretty good. Kind of like Scooter Tramp Scotty and living off his motorcycle for 27 years now, and he can do it in his sleep on autopilot. He finds all those sweet little spots. In some ways, that's the land version of what I'm talking about, is like what Scooter Tramp does. He just, instead of a horse 100 years ago and setting up camp out in the, sagebrush, he uses his motorcycle, and he finds those little nooks and crannies and he gets away with it and stays out of everyone's way. Anyways, shanty boating is kind of like the water version of that. And what comes along with it is a lot of freedom, and it's not suffering. If you have the right boat, every morning I wake up and it's the most comfortable bed I own in my life, and the best night's sleep out of all the places I can be that are mine. Living, the Beagle barge, the shanty boat, is the most comfortable place I can think of. I wake up every day about as good as I'm ever going to feel, and I have a lot of body pain and back problems and neck problems and stuff, and then I can cook food, and hold on a second. Okay, speaking of people, a lady had a 1-year-old beagle. She called it a lemon beagle, like a really pretty one. Already bigger than Wavey, though. She's a small one. They had to sniff each other out there for a minute. So, that's good to get these little interruptions, because it puts me back on point. I've said this before, like on the Shallow Drafter Shanty Boat Club, if you're not a member, please go over there. I always link in the description. It's free, and there's 21,000 and growing, and there's a whole lot more people living and building and living on and traveling and having fun on shanty boats than there was just a couple years ago. It's really been growing, and it does not surprise me. It's just such a perfect life hack for a certain type of person that just likes peaceful, slow travel and nature and fishing and all the stuff that comes along with it. So yeah, if you find yourself, I guess a younger person might be in a position where they just can't get a foothold in this economy. They can't buy a house, they can't find decent rent, and they're just kind of stuck, maybe living at home, or maybe, who knows, living in a tent or something, living in their car. But what you can do is you can go out there and find a inexpensive, cheap, sometimes free, sometimes next to nothing. I've talked about that. Maybe I'll make a video, soon about that too, just to remind folks. Get yourself a pontoon boat, build a little cabin on it. The stuff you've seen, people on a budget. Wayne and I just did it last summer in Shantyboat Cove on Lake Michigan. Look back on my channel to last summer. There's a series, the Shantyboat Cove series, and I think he only had $1,500 into that boat. So it can all be done, and it all can be done cheap, and it opens up a whole new world. Or if you're a person that's just kind of getting by, like I just said, might have a good job and make decent money, but it's not enough to keep up with the crazy cost of living that's really only getting started, guys. Believe me on this. If you listen in the mainstream media, it's just towing the line for the powers that be to try to convince you to keep investing your life and your time and your money into a dying system. It's going to get worse. Hyperinflation is going to happen eventually. The making of this video, we're like the country's in like $38 trillion in debt, and most of that just goes to paying the interest. And I don't need to be convincing anybody that the country's in bad shape, and it's all the markers are there just to get worse. It's trending to get worse. So if I can today suggest to you that there are still some ways out of it and not completely sacrifice your life to, discomfort and insecurity and, living a life not worth living, then this would be it. Living on a shanty boat is such an awesome life hack. I know for me, it gives me a baseline that no matter where my life might go, if things get really bad and I have to sell things off, it's probably going to happen. I mean, it's already kind of happening. I'll never sell my shanty boat because I can always live on it, and I can always live on it well. So that's my little speech this morning. Hopefully that was interesting and motivational, inspiring. If you watch my videos or videos of other channels like it, and you're like, man, that just looks like such a cool lifestyle and so much fun and peaceful and all the stuff, it is. Like, you're seeing the highlights, of course, with any video, but it's a great lifestyle. It is very peaceful and very budget friendly, and anyone can do it. So, okay, guys, we're gonna head back to the boat, and I will see you over on Backwaters and Backroads, our main channel. If you happen to be here and you're wondering who this guy is, my name's Brenton. My dog's name Wavey, and we have a main channel, Backwaters and Backroads. And this is our backup channel where I just kind of do stuff like this and supplemental videos and stuff. So head over there. You'll like it way better than this channel. Okay, guys. Thanks. Catch you later. Up, up. Up, up. You can do it. Up, up. Up, up. Good girl.